Hello and welcome to a Brothers Creed movie review, where we review movies that we think are awesome. We're the Thomas Brothers. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jared. And I would say not all movies are awesome. Some of
Yeah,
them are
well, that we
cool.
think could be awesome.
Could be awesome. Yeah, today we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Interesting movie. It just came out. Let's see, what was the release date? I think it was just recently. Definitely in June of 2023. And Ethan and I went and saw it, and we thought it was interesting. So the way that we do these is we give a first 5 minutes as a spoiler-free review. We give you a couple different topics. We go through a couple different topics here of the episode, and then we give you our rankings on a scale from 1 to 10. And then after that, we'll go into the more spoiler version of the review. So let's go ahead and dive in.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Most valuable commodity I know of is information.
And that, my friends, is called integrity. That's called courage. Now that's the stuff leaders should be made of.
Either you're somebody or you're nobody.
You're not the devil. You're practice.
Okay, so Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Just to kick us off here, I'm going to read just the IMDb description of the movie. So this is no spoilers. You can see this. This is more of just plot, right, to a certain extent. But it says, still reeling over the loss of Gamora, Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own, a mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful. Interesting. So
I feel like that's kind of deceptive. I feel like that movie wasn't really about that.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I don't know about the whole
Saving the universe.
Saving the universe.
It
I
wasn't
don't know
about that at all, yeah.
Maybe somebody's universe. But what did you think? I want to start off. What did you think about the other two, Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy?
Okay, so Volume 1, I thought it was great. It was really original. The music was great.
Yep.
They kind of did a great job of that, tying in that musical aspect. Actually, that was one complaint I had about this one. This is kind of a non-spoiler, but I just felt like they didn't incorporate. They tried to really, really hard, but the music wasn't very good. And the whole thing was just random music playing half the time, and it was just like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This is not necessary. The second one was meh. It was just okay. And then
Yeah.
What did you think about the first two?
No, I agree. I liked the first one because you just kind of got the introduction. It was new. It was different. And then the second one, it almost seemed like they were trying a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
But I thought it was still entertaining. But yeah. Overall, I think this was one of the better ones.
I think they
For
tried too hard with Gru in the second one. It was like they tried to play up this cuteness factor of Gru. It was like, we have to sell Gru merchandise, and so they were just playing this whole thing up, and it just got too far out of control, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
This one, Gru was actually pretty cool. He was
pretty cool.
stacked. Like,
All
they
right,
redesigned him, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's go through our categories. So the different categories that we have, and this is a non-spoiler, right? We'll do cinematography, plot and story, acting and actors. Then we'll talk about if there's any agenda, and then career building.
Creed building.
Creed building, not career building. I got my career hat on. Creed building. And then we'll give it an overall score. So the score is from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the perfect, the best movie you've ever seen in your whole life.
Well, not the best movie, the best for the category. I think I've only given out.
Well, no, I was talking about like overall score. But yeah,
Okay.
but best for that category. Okay, yeah. If we're talking individual categories. So
I've only given out 110, and that was for John Wick cinematography. That was really good.
yeah. All right. So, well, let's just start with cinematography. Jared, what did you give the movie?
I mean, I put 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
All right. All right. So I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty good. There in non-spoiler, right? But there
Yeah.
was lots of different environments that they were in
Uh-huh.
that were creative, and it's hard to do anything in space and make it look halfway decent.
Yeah.
But I feel like they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
what'd you think of-
So next one, plot/story. I gave this one, this is probably the highest score I've ever given.
Really?
I gave this one a 9. I gave it a 9.
Oh, okay. Now we're cooking with gas. I actually gave this one
Yeah.
a 4.5.
A 4.5.
Yeah, I thought it was very lacking in the story plot line. Have a lot of notes that I took on this that
Okay.
that want to discuss.
I'll say, and my kind of my first side around that is I am a sucker for a good origin story. I really like origin stories, and so that's kind of one of the things that I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
That's understandable. Acting and talent.
I give this one an 8. There's some pretty big names. There was a couple characters I didn't really like, but I feel like those characters actually were better than in previous movies that they were in.
Oh, okay.
But I think the connection between, just the chemistry between these different characters
Mm-hmm.
is really good. And so I give it an 8.
I gave it a 6. I feel like it was okay. Not bad, but it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was great. But it was
Yeah.
okay. No,
This
not the
might
best.
be-
This
This might be the first major difference that you and I have on these movie reviews.
Yeah.
Typically, we're pretty close.
Yeah, Chris
but-
Pratt usually is really good. I just don't think it really really shined in this one. Do you think he really did shined in this movie?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, his role was one of kind of being depressed to a certain extent, and so you didn't get like his full happy, cheerful self the whole time. And so maybe in that sense, it was a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a good job.
Okay. What about agenda? What agenda did you feel like was being pushed?
This one was kind of hard. I don't know. A lot of times these big box office Hollywood movies are like kind of leftward leaning. I know that a lot of the people involved are super leftward leaning, but there was kind of some underlying minutia of, feeling one way or the other about stuff, which we can get into, but I didn't really feel like it had that big of an agenda. So I kind of put it was neutral.
I felt like it was left leaning, not like crazy overt, but I feel like it. Maybe at one point it was more overt, but I felt like it was a little bit left leaning.
Okay.
So we can talk about that.
Yeah.
And then Creed building, what'd you put there?
So I put this one as a 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I put out 5 out of 10. So
Okay.
not totally bad. I felt like there were some good themes, but there were also some stuff that I was like, I could trash that message immediately that they were trying to convey.
Yeah.
So a little bit.
Well,
There's
I'm curious to hear about that.
a couple for and a couple against. And then so my overall score was a 5.4.
I think that's the lowest score we've ever had. My score, maybe I'm just an optimist, or maybe I'm more of a Marvel fan, but
Lowest score we've ever had was Glass Onion. I gave it a 4 out of 10.
okay.
Hey, that was also a Bautista or
Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista movie.
My total score was an 8.
Okay.
Actually.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're a 4-point 3.6 point differential here, so we got some discussion that needs to be had.
Okay. All right. I'm down with that.
What's your movie quote?
So my movie quote was, from humble origins to loyalty and action, but most importantly, family. The family is an ode to
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, and the that's like his like word for all of the Fast and Furious movies, and he's Groot, and so
mine was a little more cynical because I give it a 5.4. Mine is a heartwarming PETA, PETA, which is the People's for Ethical Treatment of Animals film about friendship that concludes that being an idiot is what makes a perfect dad.
all right. Okay.
That's my review. So
yeah, okay. Well,
so yeah, let's talk about it. All right, so if you haven't seen it, or if you're worried about spoilers, continue no further. But because we're going to dive into what we actually think about these different categories. So, last warning.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about cinematography here. Well, you gave this one an 8, all right? 7?
Yeah. I gave this one an 8. I thought that I thought that the different environments were cool. I thought that it was cool that they were like in that big ship, which is so they call it Nowhere, and it's basically this massive city that's a ship, and people are living there, and that was just kind of a cool little place. And then that biological mass base that they went to, I just thought it was kind of interesting. I thought it was creative. You don't really, I don't know. I was just like, oh, who thinks of this stuff, right? And then some of the things that they had in there, and the different like futuristic technologies and stuff like that. I just thought it was really interesting. It was just captivating, and all the different colors and everything were just really interesting. And then they went to that kind of that Earth 2 or whatever they called
Contra
it.
Earth.
Yeah, Contra Earth. And I just thought some of the cinematography of the ships and everything else was kind of cool. Like like the big ship, like landing around the houses and everything, kind of gave like a. Typically with all these space movies, you don't see like futuristic spaceships and stuff like that really interacting with kind of modern day stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it looked like that Contra Earth was in maybe like the 80s or like early 90s kind of timeline.
Yeah.
Does that seem about right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
In the cars and the houses and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of cool to see like this massive big blue spaceship landing in like this middle of this neighborhood. It reminded me of kind of do you remember those you remember Star Trek Voyager?
Yeah.
Remember the ones where they like went back in time to like Earth back in the 70s or the 80s or something like that? And they had to like mix into culture and everything else, but they had like the technology and everything of the future. But I don't know. That's kind of the vibe that I got. And I thought that was kind of cool. So that's why I gave it an 8 for cinematography.
Okay.
That and the whole just filming in space is difficult. Not everybody does it well, and I feel like they did it pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. That's why I gave it a 6. I thought there was one fight scene that was really cool when they were like all fighting those creatures at the end. All these different creatures. The creatures some of them were clearly really cool. There was like a pig one that was really cool. There was like this mechanical pig hybrid that was pretty awesome that they were fighting, and some of the costumes were pretty cool. I thought some of them were kind of cheesy, like when they went to that biological place. I mean, I can
the guards costumes. It seemed like it was farcical. I mean, it seemed like they were playing a joke.
Yeah, maybe. It just seemed kind of like
you couldn't like take those people seriously in those like bubble suits they were in.
Yeah. Or as Shan would say, it's maybe campy. I'm still grasping the full, like, how do you know what campy is versus just like really crappy?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay.
so that was kind of cheesy. Some of it, I think that it reminded me almost of like Toy Story with Sid. Sid from Toy Story, how he creates these mutant toys. It's kind of like the same thing, The music, like I said, the music, that's kind of in the cinematography. It was just like overdone. They were like playing music at random times, and it was just like too much. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Well, it seemed like in the first one they're playing like classic classic songs from I don't know, maybe the 80s or whatever. But it's not. They kind of like put some new stuff into it that were songs that were maybe not as well known, and they were slower. And I didn't like that as much. I agree with you on the music.
Yeah. I just didn't capture the magic of the first one. There was, and so I thought it was okay. I wasn't like stunned. The one thing that was kind of like, whoa, that was cool, was that one fight scene where they were all fighting the creatures kind of towards the end. And that was the one scene where I was like, oh, also when they evolve like those creatures in those like pods. They evolved.
Oh yeah, that was kind of cool.
That was kind of a little bit cool, like when they evolved the turtle guy.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was just, I wasn't like wowed or anything. It wasn't like, wow, this is visually stunning. So that's why I give it a 6.
All right.
Let's talk about plot. So I gave this one a 4.5 out of 10. You want me to talk about this one?
So we're probably the biggest difference here. So I gave this one a 9.
Yeah, why'd you like it?
So like I said before, I'm a sucker for like origin stories, and I've always been super interested in Rocket because he's like one of the smartest. I guess. Well, the Guardians of the Galaxies are part of the Avengers.
Yeah,
and so just how he like his mind works and how he just like invents things on the fly and just kind of mechanically puts things together and. I've just always been super curious about how he got to be this kind of, I don't know, humanistic raccoon. So I thought how they played it in like basically flashbacks throughout the whole film. I thought the flashbacks were integrated well with kind of what the story was and what was going on. And so I thought it was cool. I wish they would have played, how he was in the cage with those other animals, like the otter and then the bunny or whatever.
Yeah.
So they all died. They all got shot and killed and stuff. But I wish that they would have played that to where like they were reunited, at least one of them or some of them in the end. I know that they kind of had that weird like in the afterworld thing that they were reunited.
Yeah.
But I wish that him going back to like his origin, he would have been reunited with kind of people from that original time, because one thing about Rocket is he's always super negative. Always pissed. He's always, yelling about stuff and something, or he's always just super abrasive and aggressive and, like yelling at people. And he's not the nicest, which seems completely different from his original kind of the origin, right? He was very like friendly and everything else. And then it was just kind of like interesting to see how he was hardened through these different experiences that he had to like, the hardened Rocket that we know, which is kind of interesting. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, I did like the origin story. I thought there were aspects of it they were interesting. Let's see. I'm gonna go through the list of here why I didn't like the plot very much. So one thing I thought was good about the plot is that I liked the theme of like friendship. And like friends got him through that hard time of being in those cages, and then now he had these friends that were like gonna do everything they could to save him. I think the initial thing about like how they tried to save him is like the whole plot of the movie is like this guy's like, I want Rocket back because he's genius, and it's like, what? And then they try to kill him. They literally try to kill him, and it's like, well, if he's dead,
Well, they didn't try to kill him. They sent that Warlock guy out to get him.
yeah, but the Warlock guy almost killed him.
Warlock was a freaking idiot.
Yeah, so, and it's like, but then people were getting thrown against walls like crazy, and then Rocket gets thrown against the wall, and he's the one that nearly dies. And so I thought, I was like, we're already off on a kind of a bad foot here. I didn't like Peter Quill just moping about Gamora the whole time. I don't get there's like zero chemistry there. I don't really get why he likes Gamora. I never understood that. It's like the girl in the movie that like they're trying to make look so pretty and so attractive, but she's really not. And you're like, I just don't get why he would be after her. Like Gamora's like an awful, she's 0% attractive. And she's just like so moody and so like, I didn't even really like her in the other ones either. So like him just moping about a girl that I'm just like, why would you even be interested in that anyway? Kind of just like, and that was a major theme of the whole movie. And this is one of the major things I didn't like. The whole theme in the whole movie about Drax being an idiot. They just like hammer this the whole time. And like, Drax is an idiot. Drax is an idiot. He can't even say anything. Like he's trying to talk about an analogy and share a heartwarming moment, but he has no idea what he's talking about. And they all call him an idiot to his face and all this stuff. And then like the big culmination at the end, it's like, well, maybe you're just a perfect dad. And then it's like that's supposed to make us feel good. I'm like, what? So like the perfect dad is an idiot.
I guess I didn't really make that. Connection. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that is kind of janky. Although I always got the feeling that, they always call Drax like, oh, Drax is an idiot. Drax is an idiot, or he's slow, or he's whatever. But he's a different like he's an alien, right? And it was always my understanding that is how his like that's their culture. Like their culture is just to like act like that. And it wasn't just like, because I think in our minds, and maybe the movie played this up too, but he should be acting like, human man, whatever, super capable, this sort of kind of stuff, which Drax is super capable, but on his planet, maybe that's how their species interacts, right? Because it's a completely different species.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
But they didn't really play that.
But saying that you're the perfect dad is, I'm kind of like, that is complete BS. Because what's the blue chick? What was her name? Nebula's the whole time, especially leading up to that scene. She's like, "You're an idiot. You're so dumb. You don't think about anything." Da 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 da. And like, really, Nebula is a big part of this movie. I feel like she has a major part because she's like one of the main thinkers. Because with Rocket out, Nebula is the main thinker, and then Mantis is kind of also a thinker. And then Peter Quill's just moping about Gamora the whole time. But so Mantis is trying to defend him a little bit, but then she's just da-da-da-da-da-da. And then it's like, well, you're the perfect dad because you're an idiot and you can like make kids laugh. I just thought that was insulting to all dads. And
yeah.
Anyway,
maybe it should have been like, you're the perfect friend, right? You're loyal and kind and whatever. But
yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. And then they like, one thing that I thought was weird is like Mantis had this thing where like nobody was listening to her and like she was trying to like tell people stuff and like they didn't really wrap that up or go anywhere with that. It was just kind of weird that she's like, nobody listens to me, so she tries to get Drax to say this thing, and then it's obvious that she had said it, and then like,
well, no, I think they did wrap it up, because in the end, or whenever Drax told Peter what Mantis had told him, he knew that it came from Mantis, and he acknowledged her and was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but why did where did this whole thing come from that nobody listens to her? Why did she have to tell Drax? I think it was to make the point that he's an idiot. That was the whole thing, is to make that point. So it was like this made up storyline. The animals, this is the part where like the PETA part comes in. So like the animals that need to be saved, like for the experiments, like it was kind of fell flat, especially when they tried to make a joke when they're saving these animals. Like they pass this monkey across the bear and the monkey literally starts like clawing at this woman's face. And it's like, these are wild animals that have been experimented on, and we're treating them as if they're like, creatures that need to be saved, and it's like literally tearing this woman's face apart. I was like, that part was kind of weird. Maybe not a good time for a joke. Also, the Russian dog randomly having like crazy strong telekinesis powers. You're like, where does this even come from? Like, maybe that's some kind of deep Marvel lore or something like that. But
I think Cosmo is a member of the Avengers. There's like 80 members, like 300 members of the Avengers. Like, there's a lot.
Just
at different points in time. But yeah, I think
there was like no background.
She's like a superhero too, but there's no background on it.
Yeah, there's no background. There's nothing. It's like she was part of she was one of the Russian initial spacecrafts, but like we don't know. Maybe that's one of those like Easter egg things.
Yeah,
but it was just such a major.
Sometimes they add those people in to make you like, who is Cosmo, which is the name of that.
Yeah, well, it was such a major part that you're like, okay,
yeah, and you're like, well, who is that? And then you got to go like
dog
research into it and look at it, and like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the character. So I think they kind of did it on purpose to give it a little bit of question.
Also, like the bad dog joke was just kind of got old. You're like,
that was overplayed.
You're like, yeah. I can see where this is going. We're waiting for a good dog joke, and I just didn't think the comedy back and forth between him and that one guy was very funny. So I also think like Rocket is supposed to be this like super level genius, right? So he proves to that his creator guy that he's actually smarter than him. But we really only see one instance in this whole movie. Granted, the most of the time he's in a coma, when he actually uses his smarts, and that's to create that card key, and then get out and control that plane. But like when he wakes up, you would think that he's smarter than this guy, so he's going to defeat him using his brain. He's going to use him to trick the guy or outsmart him somehow to defeat this master creator. But he doesn't. In fact, he doesn't use any of his smarts at all. He just basically lets everybody else take care of it and shoots guns. So I was kind of like let down that like the whole thing is that this guy was like, oh man, you are a creation that I created that's smarter than me, and how can you be so smart? And then he comes back for revenge, and he doesn't outsmart him. He just outshoots him with his team of buddies.
Yeah, I did kind of recognize that as well. And as we were watching the movie, I even was thinking in my mind, I was like, oh, Rocket's going to wake up, and then he's going to invent something that saves the day, is what I thought was going to happen. Because that was the whole thing, that he was so smart, and he could generate his own thoughts, and he wasn't just smart because he learned it from someone. He was smart because he was innovative, and he could create his own thoughts. And so I did think that it was going to be like, oh yeah, he's going to come back, he's going to invent something, he's going to save the day, and he's going to prove this guy that he is better than him. But yeah, it did kind of just feel like that he was just like, oh, I'm here and I'm still alive,
and we're shooting guns.
I'm going to fight for everyone that can't fight for themselves.
Yeah, and then at the end it was kind of like, oh, and also like when he goes and he opens the cage and he sees the plaque that says raccoon on it, and it's like, okay, so did he not know? Everybody's been calling him raccoon for years and years and years. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to like.
Well, I think that was just like a.
Maybe it was just showing
a moment where he was just like, yeah, like he's acknowledging where he came from.
Yeah. One or two more. The chick. So like when Peter Quill's like moping about Gamora, and then he's like, and then basically they turn his attention towards Nebula, and he's like, oh, your eyes are so pretty like that, and she's like, they're black, and he's like, has anybody ever told you that they're so pretty? Like, it's like weird. He's like in this like dazed state of like moping, and then he just starts flirting with Nebula, and he's like so depressed about Gamora, but he just starts flirting with Nebula, and he's like, you're so beautiful, your eyes are so beautiful. And I was like, what's happening here? Is he gonna start like falling in love with Nebula because she has a bigger part in this movie? But then that just kind of like fell flat, and I'm like, what is going on? It's just like, I don't know if it's like just trying to make a weird joke, but it wasn't like in a joking manner. Like,
no, I think they were just trying to make make it apparent that Nebula was the one that was really kind of taking care of him I guess, and that he was like finally realizing that like, okay, this Gamora chick is gone. It's a done deal. Like, this is not going to happen. But it was like feeling the connection to other people around her. I mean,
Yeah,
around
maybe.
him.
And I thought
But yeah,
I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna take this further, but then they didn't because they ratcheted
No,
it
they
totally back, and then they went back to him opening about Gamora.
yeah,
So I was like, I was hopeful actually that they were gonna take it in that direction, that he was gonna realize that, you know, Nebula's actually been taking care of him, and she's the one that's actually, but they like unwound that. Because at the beginning, she was the one taking him to his bed and like helping him all this stuff,
Yeah.
and like, so I was like, oh, okay, they're planting seeds for this to blossom, and then I thought that was the moment where he realizes like, wait a second, you've been here all along with me, and like maybe I'm missing out on this, but it didn't. So that was
yeah.
weird.
Which I would have been okay with. I think it would have added to the story.
Yeah. One part
Um,
I did think was funny though is when they were like in that lady's house and like Drax was on the couch and he was like laying down on the couch and they're like, sit up on the couch.
Why is it shaped like this if you're not supposed to lay down on it?
Yeah. That was
You're
funny.
supposed to sit shoulder to shoulder.
That was funny, so I will say
Yeah.
that. So that's my full reasoning behind why I give it a 4.5. I just felt like there were a lot of
Okay.
holes, a lot of dead ends, a lot of like
Yeah, dead ends is understandable.
Yeah. So
So acting, I had given this one an 8, and kind of just going into the Drax stuff. Like, I really like his character, and it's really kind of interesting because he acts like, I don't know, he acts like this dumb character, but he's really just actually playing that story. Or he's playing that character, and it's almost
Yeah, yeah.
painful to watch him act in this role. But at the same point, it's like hilarious, and it's like he nails it and how he does it. Like the part on the couch, like that was just hilarious. There was like some other stuff that was just super funny. Like he was trying to make Quill feel better, and he was like, "Hey, do you want a Zarg nut?" Which is like a little snack he was eating. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, actually, as they were like going through this like crazy moment. And then he's sitting there and Mantis was there and she's like, and maybe I wanted a Zarg nut too. And he's like, well, you can't because they're all gone. And then he's sitting there in the elevator and then he slowly takes another package and puts it in his mouth.
Yeah. She was like, I can see you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's funny. I thought Chris Pratt he's just very good. I think he acts very well. There's really not like let me put it this way. He's very believable when he acts. You're like, oh, he could actually be, Peter Quill, Star-Lord, in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He plays it. He plays these different characters. It's almost like he believes he is who he is in the movie, which is I thought he does a good job. I did not like the Gamora character very much. I've never super liked her, but she's always just kind of been like a meh.
Yeah.
I mean, with him and her together in the first one, even or the first one and the second one, they had this like love romantic thing that kind of developed. That's great. But I didn't like how now I mean, it makes sense why she's so cold towards him because she doesn't have any feelings. She's only met him a couple times, and then before because of all of the Avengers stuff that happened, and she doesn't have any feelings towards him. It's like some stranger on the street.
Yeah.
So I didn't particularly like that character very much, but one thing the whole grunting thing between her and Nebula, that was just like kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, that's so dumb. Like, make it like a high five or like a head nod or something, not like a I don't know. It seemed very masculine for two like feminine characters.
Yeah. Well, I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I don't like Gamora is because she's not feminine at all.
Yeah.
There's zero femininity in her. But I just don't like that actress either. I hated her in our Avatar as well, so it might just be the actress.
Yeah, it probably is a little bit. But one thing that in the past movies and in the Avenger movies, I really disliked Nebula, the blue chick.
Yeah.
I really disliked her character. I mean, in all these other movies, it's just like, man, it's just painful. But I feel like in this one, she actually kind of redeemed herself a little bit.
Yeah, I thought she was good in this one.
I thought she was pretty good. There was like it humanized her a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, in her, it softened her, I guess. It almost made her role a little bit more feminine as compared to the previous roles that's just like, I'm going to kill everybody and everything and, scorched earth tactics and all this other kind of stuff. But now it almost seemed like she was caring and nurturing, and she felt like she was part of a family. And so I thought she did a pretty good job in this one.
Yeah, I did like her. I felt like the acting in this one was almost like, I don't think Chris Pratt shined in this movie. I thought in the later part of the movie, he did a little bit more. But the first probably half of the movie, he just was almost absent, just not really there. So the other characters had to carry the movie. Oh, it's almost felt like The Office after Michael Scott left, after Steve Carell left, where the side characters kind of had to carry the show. I thought Drax was funny. There was a couple parts that were hilarious when he's like, "We're going to kill every single one of them." And he's like, "No, we're not going to kill anybody." He's like, "We're not going to kill just some of them." He's like, "We're not going to kill anybody. So we're going to kill one stupid person, some idiot guy who no one likes."
Yeah, and doesn't have any family. That was funny.
So I thought he had some good parts. I think Rocket was good. But yeah, it was pretty good. Peter Quill didn't shine. I did not like Gamora. The guys that were back on Nowhere, like the main actor guy,
that side of the story was just dumb.
It was dumb. It was lame. Those acting was terrible. I thought like the blue guy, he was awesome. And he was like kind of a cool character. This other guy now that they have is just kind of a joke. And maybe it's supposed to bring like some just lightness to the show, but it was just kind of like, you're seriously leaving the entire base in this guy's hands, and he's like a complete imbecile.
It's just another male idiot.
Yeah, you're the
character.
perfect guy. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I thought it was pretty good, but not great. So that's why I give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. All right. So for agenda, I had said none. Underlying stuff, I guess you could kind of say that some governmental stuff with, people abusing their power. And I don't know. What did you think about it? I know you said you kind of felt like it was leftward leaning. I understand kind of the PETA stuff a little bit with kind of that's more on the left side. I mean, I think that you should be kind to animals.
Yeah, I think so.
To a certain extent, right? But
also one part I guess I did left off of the plot is like the entire planet Contra Earth gets destroyed and like nobody says anything about it. Like it's not even mentioned. It's like all those people just died. It's like the entire planet of billions of people that's like the exact mirror opposite of Earth. But nobody says anything about it. They're just like, "Oh, good thing we saved these kids off of this experimental ship." And they saved no one from the planet below.
I guess we don't know how many people were living on that planet, but
I mean, it was exactly the same as Earth, except for just different types of beings. So it was like, okay. And it's like, well, it's okay if it's got destroyed because there's a couple of drug dealers and stuff. But it's like, have you seen Earth?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like almost as bad as Thanos, It's like, oh, whatever. They just, like as opposed to like, Star Trek when like Vulcan gets destroyed, or they're like, no, or like even Star Wars when her planet gets destroyed. Princess Leia's planet, Elderon. No,
Elderon, yeah,
gets destroyed. She's like, no, my people, or like even like the Star Trek, the new ones when Tuvok Spock. It's when Spock is standing on that moon, he sees his planet just implode and just like the heartbreak, and you can feel it. This movie was just like, whatever, we saved some animals. It's like, okay, but you let all these people die on Earth, or the Contra Earth. So, but going back to the agenda, yeah, I mean, I thought it was just like, I mean, the end of the PETA thing, I was kind of a joke, but like, I think that the main thing I didn't like about it was like this poke at dads. In like this, I feel like it was kind of one of those feminist pokes.
Toxic masculinity type thing.
Yeah, well, like men are only good for being they're useful idiots, basically. That kind of a thing that you get with this like crazy feminist stuff, where it's just like men are bad, they're only useful because they have muscles, and it wouldn't. I mean, it was not crazy left, but I felt like it was a little bit more left than central. I mean, I know Peter Quill was a very capable man in the movie, although he was moping the entire movie. But there's just the fact that they came to some the big reveal was like, oh, you're not an idiot. You're just a perfect dad. Like, I thought, I was like, what? So anyway, that's why I said it was a little bit like feminist, I guess, or just dissing on male father figures in that one.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Creed building, what'd you think?
I'd give this one a 7. For a couple of the reasons, right? I said loyalty was a good one to like your brotherhood or your group or your family, because they were all kind of family, right? They didn't have any of their own family, and so they've kind of formed their own unit. That they were willing to do anything for to save their friend, to save Rocket, and to support him. Kind of an interesting observation that I made too is that you're spot on at the beginning where Peter's just drinking all the time and he's moping and he's he's just like always drunk, and Nebula's carrying him to his bed and and he's just like terrible depressed over Gamora. But then he is given the opportunity to serve. Right. So Rocket gets hurt, and now he has the opportunity to serve Rocket and to, help him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so true. The observation that I kind of felt was that in serving others, it actually can give us purpose. And I felt like towards the end of the movie, like Peter he kind of gotten over this whole Gamora thing. That he was just kind of like, yeah, like it's going to hurt. Right. And it kind of hurts, but you go your way, I'll go my way. It's not going to happen. And I felt like he'd gotten over that, but I really felt like it was kind of the journey that helped him get over that. And so it was kind of like him serving others, serving Rocket, and having a purpose and helping someone else allowed him to overcome his own trial and something that he was struggling with. And so, how could that be applied to my creed or my life? Sometimes when, the best thing to do whenever you feel like you can't do it anymore, is helping someone else out.
Yeah.
And, lending a helping hand to someone else. And so sometimes, seeing other people's situations and offering our assistance can help us cope with our own situations, our own struggles. So that was kind of why I gave it a little bit higher. I kind of went back and forth. I was like, well, is it like a 5 or a 6 or a 7?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I went with 7 because I felt like, just the loyalty aspect, and then the, kind of overcoming struggles.
Yeah. I think that those are great themes. I think that the friendship theme of like, he had these friends, even when he was in this prison, these cages, he made these really good friends, and they were so optimistic, and he didn't want to leave them, and he was heartbroken. And then he had friends now that were willing to risk everything to go save him. And like, even like, oh, you're going to that company, you do know what you're going up against. And it's just like, hey, we have to do this. So I thought that was cool, that sense. Also, I thought the redemption story of like the Warlock, how like even though he was bad and he was out to kill him the whole time, they showed him kindness, and he was like, why? And they just, because it's like, hey, everybody deserves a second chance. And then he actually ended up saving Peter. I kind of saw that coming a ways off, but I was like, you know what? I still like the story of redemption and people being able to have a second chance. So those were some good things.
I actually looked it up, and that movie kind of was an origin story of Warlock too, because I looked into him a little bit, and they said that well, within the Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the Guardians actually is Warlock is a Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was kind of like his introduction to the Guardians of the Galaxy. And so he sticks with them moving forward, and he becomes one of the Guardians. And he actually is he is the most powerful Guardian in the galaxy and you know, all basically that ever exists in the whole story. He's the most powerful one.
Oh, cool.
Which is kind of cool. So it's kind of a second origin story. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's cool. So, yeah, I like that. And so there's some good things. I obviously I didn't like the ding it dads. Thought that was, you know, that's something that's important to me. And so, the way that fathers are portrayed in movies is like, I want that to be like a good thing. And so I didn't feel like
a positive example for my children.
I didn't feel like that was like a true thing. So, you know, some of the ways that, and the tide I feel like is maybe starting to turn in more recent years, where fathers are being given a little bit more credit. But you know, there's a long time there where fathers were just like the idiots in the sitcoms or whatever, and you know, I just don't like that theme. It just also, I think when men hear that theme too, they kind of put themselves in that position. If everything you watch is the man modeling a certain behavior, you're going to begin to model those behaviors yourself. And so,
yeah, I've always absolutely hated that. Right. So like, I even thinking back on some of these like shows that are on TV. Like, remember that the King of Queens?
Oh yeah,
that show.
Yep.
Right. Like he was just this big, goofy, dopey idiot, and his wife was just ragging on him all the time. And I was just like, man, I remember as a kid watching that. It was kind of funny or whatever. But now I was like, I've seen some episodes like an adult, and I'm like, dude, that guy's wife is terrible. She's treating him like trash.
Yeah, seriously.
And you know, same thing with like that Everybody Loves Raymond show.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate that show because he is a freaking idiot. His brother is an idiot. His dad is an idiot. And it's like the wife is the only smart one.
Or married
the
with
whole thing. Yeah,
married with children. Or like you go back and like, you know, all these different ones. It's just like, oh man, or Family Guy or Simpsons or, you know, what have you. It's just like, you know, and some like, or Malcolm in the Middle, you know, it's just like, oh my gosh. Malcolm in the Middle, I cannot stand that show, man. The lady is just so psychotic. She's just like always screaming. I'm just like, oh my gosh, these kids are like literally need to be taken out of that home. That mom is just always neurotic.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with that show is their kids are acting like that because of your parenting.
Yeah,
that's why they act like that. But yeah, because mom and dad are not on the same page. Because in that, I mean, I remember watching that show growing up, and they were never on the same page. The parents weren't.
Yeah,
and so. I mean, I'm not the perfect exemplar of rearing children, but
hey, better than that show. So anyway, that's why I give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay, cool. So I had an overall score of 8, which is pretty high.
After our discussion, would you adjust it?
I would maybe adjust it down just a little bit. You know, you kind of brought up some good points. I don't know if I would stick with a 9 for the plot and story. I think I'd maybe bump that one down to like at least an 8. And so I'd probably still be like around a 7 or 7.5, which is kind of average.
I might bump acting up maybe to a 7 because I think you made some good points. I mean, on the acting. But yeah, okay. Well, very good.
As far as seeing this one in the theaters, I mean, Jared and I saw it in the theaters, and I thought it was cool. I mean, it's like you have the darkness of the theater, and you have the rumble of you can feel the laser beams and the, you know, everything else from the ships and stuff. So I thought it was kind of cool if you can see it, but I mean, it's not like absolutely needed.
Yeah.
But I thought it was, if you can see it in a theater, I would see it.
Yeah. What's the threshold for like see it or not see it?
Yeah, I don't know. Anything over 5, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I would encourage you to see it, and Jared would just.
I would say wait to
watch it. Watch it if it's on TV for free. Or
wait until it
comes out to Disney
Plus or something like that. That's what I would say. I would say don't waste your money. Go on and see this on a date night. Save your money for Oppenheimer or Mission Impossible.
Well, yeah, those are going to be upcoming ones.
Those are going to be. I heard Oppenheimer, which is the one we're going to review, is actually like a horror film. That's how it's supposed to be.
Really?
Which is really interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Yeah, so we're going to be doing Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible.
Those are the next two we're going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, this has been great. If you like these, let us know. I'm curious to see if you've seen this movie, if you agree with us, if you feel like it's over a 5 or under a 5. And we'll, if there's any other movies that you want us to look at, even if they're older movies, maybe we can do some reviews of like some historical classics.
Yeah, exactly. So just let us know, and let's build that creed together.
All right, let's do it.